This is Ginny Brant with Unleash Your God-Given Healing. I'd like to share an interview I did with someone local in Easley, South Carolina, Kim McIntyre, who is a health professional. She mentors many people through their journeys towards health. You will learn many things in this interview you did not know, and you'll learn a lot from Kim herself. So enjoy this interview and know that she's right in Easley, South Carolina. Thanks so much.
Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you to my channel. And for those of you that are new, my name is Kimberly McIntyre. I am a nutrition and wellness coach. And I started this channel really for my clients. I wanted to bring them education, but since then it has become so much more. And I get to sit down with amazing people like the person that I get to sit down with today and share awesome news with you. So I want to introduce to you Ginny Brant, who actually has become my friend. And I didn't realize that she lives near me. And so we made a lunch date, got to know each other a little bit. But she's going to share her story on how she overcame cancer. We're going to talk about her book in just a little bit. But first, I want to introduce you to Ginny Brant. Ginny, thank you so much for joining us. And just as a little side note, there are so many things that we could talk about today because her story, like all throughout her life, is amazing. But we're going to focus on the cancer story today, and we need to get this information to you all, not only for those that need help overcoming, but also with the help of prevention. So, Ginny, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to sit here and bring us this news today. And I'm just going to turn it over to you.
I have to tell you that it was a surprise diagnosis when the doctor first called me at my school to tell me that, yes, the tumor I had providentially found when this ring got caught in my nightie in the middle of the night was cancer. It was 4 months after my mother had died from breast cancer, and I knew what I might face. But what was so remarkable was that day, my husband and I had done the Cooper River Bridge run in Charleston, which is a 10-kilometer walk run. You know, some people run it to race it, and people like us do it for good health. But I was not your typical patient who gets cancer. I was not your typical person to get cancer. And that's what drove me into the research deeper, because I was already what you would call somewhat of a health nut. I had rewritten with a committee our school lunch program in Oconee County schools to make them healthier. I had taught every student in my school about health and wellness through guidance lessons. I had, been a health and wellness speaker across this state in school districts and in my own district, and it made absolutely no sense. So all of this, when I get this cancer diagnosis, is what drove me to look deeper and look at what is behind the curtain that I'm not seeing.
So as you had started on this journey, going to the doctors, trying to figure out what was going on, and you found out that it was not genetic.
Yes. I mean, like I say, it was a shocker because, first of all, there are 8 risk factors for the breast cancer I got. And my doctors in Chicago sat down with me carefully and went over them. I didn't have one of them. So that's when they ordered the extensive genetic testing. I didn't have any genetic factors either. And so we're all sitting here going, and I remember the doctor saying to me, Ginny, this is unusual, but we will tell you we're seeing more people like you every day that have no genetics and no risk factors for the cancer they got. And they live a pretty healthy lifestyle. Now, I'm going to tell you, I learned that I was not as health nutty as I thought. I had a lot more to learn. But when the doctors tell you we're seeing more of this every day, I mean, all these things are waking me up. And another thing that happened that was it's really funny now, but I met with the chaplain about my dilemma. Yes, my mother died of breast cancer and she considered it her ticket to heaven and she was ready to go. And that's a conversation I have with a lot of cancer patients that I'm counseling, where I say, maybe this is your ticket to heaven. And that's the way we have to look at it as Christians. And that's a blessing, to go to heaven. But it's just, I met with the chaplain because I was pouring my heart out to him. And he looked at me and he said, Ginny, you're an author. You're a speaker. I mean, think of all the people you could help as you go through this journey. And he said, I can see it now. You're going to write a book about cancer that's going to help people. And I looked at him and I said, you don't understand. I don't want this gift. He was saying, this is a gift for you to help others. I said, I don't want this gift. Who would want to go through this? The more I learned, the more I realized that I was doing everyday things that opened the door for me to get cancer. And most people out there are doing these same everyday things, and they don't realize that they're putting themselves at risk for cancer. So again, that's what drove me on this quest to discover, number one, what caused my cancer, and number two, because if I can't figure out what caused it, how am I going to stop it from coming back? And number two, what can I do to help my doctors beat it, lessen the side effects of all these treatments, and then keep it from coming back?
So Jenny, first of all, I'm going to say that you were blessed to have amazing care, because that's not everybody's story. And the majority of the people that come to me, those people are not even supporting the mission. So what a blessing to have that pairing to get you out of the muck. So will you talk
Amen.
to us about what those things were that you found out were contributing to the cancer cells coming alive and starting to move through your body?
When I had the first surgery and I had a lot of stitches, I got up after the surgery as soon as I could. And the next morning I walked 4 rounds of that hospital floor because a nurse told me if I did that, they would pull the catheter out and some of the tubes that were driving me nuts. And so I walked 4 rounds and it felt so good. I said, how many to a mile? Here I am dragging poles behind me, okay? And I discovered that day that, yes, I had the energy to make it to a mile. And you can only do this if you have the energy and the balance. I made it to 2 miles that day. When I got to my hospital room, my surgeon, both of them came in. I had 2 surgeons. And my doctors that all were a part of it were all in the room, and they're going, this is the best thing you could have done. You have promoted healing in your body and pumped out the anesthesia and jump-started your organs, and all these tubes that you're supposed to go home with and your husband's supposed to help you babysit for 2 to 3 weeks. We're pulling them all today because your body's already taken care of it.
Awesome.
Now, that's a victory for a breast cancer patient. So I looked at that one thing, exercise, and I said, well, you know, I really don't want chemotherapy. I mean, who does, right? But I had aggressive cancer. And so I gave in to doing the chemotherapy because I had a naturopathic doctor on my case at the hospital and a top-notch nutritionist. And that made me feel a whole lot better. But I made a plan that worked so well for the surgery. I'm just going to do it before and after each chemo. If I can walk 2 miles before chemo, that wouldn't be too hard because it's before. And hopefully, maybe I can walk 2 miles afterwards and then every day in between. So that's what I did. I want you to know I was able to do that every day during a whole year of chemotherapy and infusions. And the interesting thing is I was doing it to relieve stress, okay? Well, if you read that chapter in my book on exercise, I got so much more. When I finished chemo, my oncologist started hooping and hollering and calling me their rock star cancer patient. Why? Because 6 weeks after chemo was over, my red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets were back within normal ranges. They said this is absolutely unheard of. And they didn't really know why at the time. They knew I was being very intentioned about what I was doing, and I was eating healthy and doing all these wonderful things and doing whatever their naturopathic doctor, nutritionist told me to do. But at that point, the research on exercise and cancer had not come out. And so a few years after I completed chemo, my doctors pointed me, they knew I was writing a book, to exercise from a meta-analysis in Australia of over 30 entities. And they came together to make one position paper on exercise. And they said, it's the best thing a cancer patient can do, especially during chemotherapy.
Amazing.
This was unheard of. So you think about all these years, cancer patients are going through chemotherapy, and what do? They get the drugs, the infusions, they go home and they lie down or sit in the chair all day and they mope and gripe and I did not do that. And it really, and again, I wasn't doing it for the right, I was doing it to relieve stress. I didn't know this research. The research says it's better than giving a pill to a cancer patient. It's the best thing you can do. And then MD Anderson comes out a few years after that with research they did with mice. And they found that the mice who had a moderate exercise routine during chemotherapy fared better in surviving the chemo, number one, and number two, it enhanced the immunotherapy. I have a whole chapter on what exercise does for your body and specifically what it does for the cancer patient.
So when clients come to me, the majority of them, that's the missing component and is moving their body. And a couple weeks later, they're still not doing it. And then I have to start to motivate them and explain all of the whys behind, because if we want optimal health, if we want to be the best that we can in the body that the Lord gave us while we are on this earth, moving our body has got to be part of it. And just like you said, first of all, you are doing it for the stress level, which the majority of us have stressors coming at us and we don't even realize all that playing out throughout our day. And so we've got to shut those down, but also for circulation. And so many times people aren't like, they might start putting in the nutrients, but they're not absorbing or assimilating it. And so exercise helps with that too. So first of all, the way that I found out about you was a friend of mine had sent me the video, a biblical nutritionist, and her name is Annette Reeder. That's another person to go check out. And you guys are good friends, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine had sent me this video. It just happened to show up on her feed like a lot of them do. And when I watched it immediately, I was like, I have got to get in touch with you. And fortunately, you're kind enough to reach out to get this information to everyone else. But within that video, you had talked about how a lot of the things that you were putting on your body contributed. And so people, they think that's a joke. I had done a little reel about how to make your own deodorant, because deodorant is one of the highest toxin-laden products that we put on our body. And I'm talking to the viewers because I know that you already know this, that anything that we put on our body can absorb within 26 seconds and actually go into the blood. Well, the life of the flesh is in the blood. And so that was, you had talked about how some of those toxins putting on your skin were part of what had contributed. And I know one of the things that you had mentioned was fire retardants.
Well, yeah, that was found at high levels. Again, when we couldn't find a reason for my cancer, I kept digging deeper. And I was part of a clinical trial for the sauna that I had purchased because my integrative doctor was telling me, Ginny, you've got to detox. You have had some of the strongest chemicals. And so, we already knew I had heavy levels of lead, and we were trying to work on that. So we wanted to see if that had improved or gotten worse. And everything was worse. And then when I was in that clinical trial, I thought they were testing metals. They were testing toxic chemicals. I didn't know there was a test for toxic chemicals. And there were like 20 that they tested. I was high in 15 of them. And most of the ones I was high in were endocrine disrupting chemicals. And so they're coming in through my skin. They're coming in through the water I drink. They're coming in through the foods I eat. Glyphosate was found at high levels in my body. So I took all this back to my doctors when the clinical trial results came, and they said, oh my, we didn't know this could build up in your body. And these are endocrine disrupting hormones. And most certainly, yes, we have finally found one thing that contributed to your cancer and greatly contributed. So because of that, my oncologist, they've read my book and he's totally behind it. And my gynecologist said, yes, this is what we're beginning to see. The medical world is beginning to see this now. Breastcancer.org is mentioning, yes, you need to look seriously at eating clean fruits and vegetables because of the pesticides coming in. Mm-hmm. And the American Cancer Society just mentioned a few years ago, it might be a problem. That's all they've said so far. But guess what? It's probably the next thing in a few years to go on their risk list for breast cancer, especially estrogen-fed breast cancer.
Yes, everyone needs to know. And I had vagus nerve testing. I had started having just brain fog, numbness in my joints, and just not feeling great. So I had vagus nerve testing and I had tested positive for glyphosate toxicity and did a healing protocol with that. They had put me on some elixirs and a high amount of cilantro to flush that out of my body. And wow, what a difference it made. But just the reality that, and for those of you who don't know, Roundup is glyphosate. So that's just a name brand. But even when you're spraying it on your yard or your plants, and you're breathing it in. The other thing is even the clothes that we wear. And a lot of women today, what's in? Well, fitness wear. And we're not realizing those are, like, when we talk about fire retardants, we're talking about clothes that are binding, restricting, not allowing our bodies to breathe. And they can actually contribute. Wearing those tight clothes, wearing those fabrics can contribute. And they can also contribute to some other interesting issues and being endocrine disrupting. So we want to support the health of our body and not suppress. And we need all the help that we can get because there are certain toxins that we can't avoid. So why not avoid the ones that we can?
There are things that we cannot control, but let's do control what we can control. And then we just have to look the other way on the others because we can't solve the world's problems with all the toxins and whatever, but we can watch what we put on our skin. We can clean up our water and we can try to eat as clean as feasibly possible. Some people cannot afford to eat organic, but I do it by the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. When that list comes out, we know that avocados are clean. I don't worry about avocados if I'm eating the inside meat and no one eats the outer shell. Things that usually have a shell, the fruit inside is more protected. But the point is, we've got to at least look at what we can do. If we move more, if we increase hydration, then our body's better able to get these chemicals out. And if we sweat. Now, I have to tell you that I was not much of a sweater. If my husband and I went on a walk, which we do every day for about an hour, he's sweating in the first 10 minutes. I could be right towards the end and I might not sweat at all. So that's not good, And so I had to learn to sweat. And that's why I got a sauna. And I got one for my husband and I, and it's reasonably expensive. I'll say that. But there are cheaper ones that you can get that are portable. But the point is, you got to figure out you need to sweat every single day. It's a great way of your largest detox organ is your skin. Your most important is your liver, but your skin is your largest. And you've got to learn to sweat because this is a way of getting toxins out.
That's right. And what's expensive is medical costs.
Yes.
And
I used to look, I had a friend that would say to me, I wouldn't buy those grapes from Mexico. They have a lot of pesticides in them. And I looked at her and I said, well, it certainly doesn't seem to be bothering me. So I'm not going to worry about something that I'm not seeing the evidence for in my body. A few years later, I'm diagnosed with cancer,
Wow.
So now I look at those Mexican grapes that might taste great. And I'm like, yeah, I'll go organic on that one because they're heavily pesticided. I can't get everything organic. And and I understand people are on a budget and they can't always eat organic. Then I would suggest that you prioritize milk for your children. Make sure it's organic without the hormones given to the cows, and greens and eggs and these type of things that are heavily pesticided and hormones come in. Prioritize those. You can prioritize. And I do a lot of, not to give Costco a plug, but I just did a YouTube video on my favorites at Costco. It's where I get most of my organic foods at a reasonable price.
I'm hearing that they have a lot to offer in the organic department. So I'm going to have to check it out myself. I have a membership to Thrive, and why not I prefer to go. I like to look and touch and see what I'm buying first.
I'll have to look at that video because I actually show you the things. I have them all on my kitchen counter and I pull them up one by one. And so you can actually see what to look for.
Is your YouTube, so Ginny just started a YouTube channel. So you guys hop on over there. You're going to get some amazing information. But in Is it your name? Is it under your name?
Ginny Brant, GINNYBRANT.
Okay. So you guys hop over there. Would you mind sharing with us a day in the life of Ginny?
First thing I do is drink 2 glasses of water. And the reason is overnight you become dehydrated and you don't want to get up in the middle of the night and wake your sleep pattern, disturb that. But I drink that first. And then when I go into the kitchen, I will make a tonic drink that gets my liver going with apple cider vinegar, with fresh lemon, with some cayenne pepper, a few essential oils, and a little bit of stevia to help me down it, and warm water. And that is to get that liver going. And then I may have a healthy breakfast with coffee, organic coffee. And then I go out and take my walk. And then at lunch, I will have a healthy smoothie. And that's another YouTube video I just made. And it's got 6-7 superfoods in it. It's got healthy fiber. It's estrogen lowering, cancer fighting, gut building, brain enhancing, and heart protecting. And so my husband and I eat it every day. You can change the flavors. We like the chocolate, banana, blueberry, so that works for us. And it's a meal replacement. And then we have a medium-sized dinner at night. And believe it or not, I walk again after dinner. I'm trying to do it twice a day because it pumps the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system, when I learned this, I was like, gosh, how did I not know this? It's the only system in your body that only works when you move. And the more you move it, the better. And, today with all our modern conveniences, especially during COVID, we can literally sit in a chair all day long and not go anywhere and not move our bodies. That movement is important for your immune system.
Absolutely. I've been doing the same thing. If I work out in the morning, I'm doing a walk in the evening after I eat, and it just makes you feel so much better. I'm actually considering getting a rebounder just because I have heard that if you jump on that, even for a minute, that gives the lymphatic system help for 24 hours.
It does. And a lot of my cancer patients, that's what I tell them, to use a rebounder. You can also use a stationary ball. You can just literally sit on that ball and watch TV. Like maybe you're watching.
So sitting on the ball bouncing.
Yes.
It's just, well, I have one of those. That's cheaper.
Some people can't get on a rebounder. Maybe they don't have the balance because of their cancer journey, and they can sit on that ball and be next to a table to brace their hand, and they can just bounce up and down. And I always tell people, if you're in the middle of the cancer journey, even if you got to get mom on one side and, husband on the other, get up out of that hospital bed and walk down that hall. Yes. You cannot sit in that bed. It is the worst thing you can possibly do. And you can't do it by yourself if you don't have the energy and the balance, but you can do it with somebody on each side.
This is her book. I highly recommend it. And we were talking about how it says 8 steps to prevent and survive cancer, but in actuality, it's really 8 steps to prevent anything, health issues. So this book is valuable for anyone. It's an easy read. I have thoroughly enjoyed reading this book. I want to encourage you to get on Ginny's channel and start watching some of her stuff. I also want to encourage you to get her book because there's so much good in-depth information, things that we haven't touched on in this video. And Ginny, I want to thank you again for having this conversation with us and just helping people to not only know that cancer can be preventable, but that it also can be you can heal.
Greatest thing I learned in the cancer journey is that God created our body with an innate ability to heal and regenerate.
That's exactly right. We just have to know how to plug in and support it.
Right.
Support that healing system.